We also have sports, international news, and entertainment coming up shortly. Please stay. We start with our stories now, and pressure mounts on the Electoral Commission to be comprehensively audited following a full-blown media battle between the commissioners and staff. Latest to the issue is a response from the Deputy Chairperson, Georgina Opoku-Amankwa, who put up a strong defense of the allegation against her. Now, this follows. In this story, we'll bring you some more details on what exactly is happening at the EC and matters arising. But as well, we do have Skype on this very issue regarding the Electoral Commission and matters arising. Professor Ransford Jampo is a Director, Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Good afternoon, Prof, and thanks for agreeing to speak with us.
Hi, good afternoon.
Now, these happenings at the Electoral Commission, will it affect the integrity of the Commission, knowing that some persons have called for probe of the Commission?
Well, the integrity of the Electoral Commission, in my view, for now, is in tatters. The chairperson's response to the anonymous petition calling for her removal makes it clear. It makes a clear and compelling case that the Commission, as it is currently constituted, is dysfunctional and cannot perform its core mandate of administering elections and all that. They are supposed to be working together as a team. They are supposed to be presenting united front, but the schism and the divisions among them, in my view, show that we, for now, do not even have a commission. And I think they have all professionally misconducted themselves if you look at the allegations and the counter allegations that have been leveled, and in so doing, they have also dragged the name of the Commission in the mud. And for me, they would do all of us a lot of good by saying that for the sake that we have all brought the image of the Commission into disrepute, we all would have to resign. But of course, I also know that it takes professional maturity to make that bold decision of resigning. And so, and they themselves, clearly, if you look at what they have done, they haven't behaved maturely in a professional manner. And so I think there should be a way out in resolving this matter. I would have loved to hear them saying that because of what we have done, we are resigning. Because now, if they don't resign, even if we try to resolve the matter as it is now, how are they going to work together to present
if I can hold you there with the stance you made on the EC being put into disrepute? There's some school of thought or some persons who have also argued that, for instance, the presidency, there's several allegations for the judiciary, several issues have come up, and other quarters or sectors of the state or even government as a whole. But eventually, when these issues are resolved, some are also not resolved in the long term, but they still work as they should. So how does this work?
Well, if you want to talk about, let's say, the ANA's expose of judicial corruption, you agree. We all know that it didn't involve the top echelons of the judiciary. That's why the Chief Justice set up a committee to look and to review the findings and to crack the whip where necessary. But this one has to do with the top echelons of the commission. And I'm saying that whatever happens, how will they be able to work together in future? I have made a lot of proposals and spoken about so many things that can be done to bring some sanity. But after listening to the allegations and counter allegations, it clearly shows that, and see, they are not even disagreeing about election policy and strategy. They are not disagreeing about issues, professional or technical issues. They are disagreeing about issues that are quite personal to them, whose apartment has been refurbished, who has been given V8 vehicles, who is pocketing some money, about procurement issues, etc., etc. I think these are personal issues that goes to the core of their relationship, the relationship that must exist between them as they run their duties and responsibilities effectively. They can no longer work together, as I see. And the way to go is not even to kick into practice Article 146 that mandates the president to receive a petition and then forward to the CJ and all that, because the matter has also been overly politicized. Now people have taken partisan stance, and remember that the petition was only against Charlotte Osei. Now Charlotte Osei has also made other allegations that show that the other two are also involved, and so there should be a way to totally review and probe what is going on. And the point is, even after the review, whoever is found culpable, and if we decide that culpability is established, then sanctions should be applied. After applying sanctions, how would they be able to still jail? And
okay,
so
now, Doc, again to this very same point, Prof. For instance, concerns had come up that a vice-chancellor's son was engaged in examination malpractice, but that didn't affect the certification of the University of Ghana. Eventually, people still attend that university and still hold certificates from that university. Now,
don't compare oranges with apples. I mean, don't do that comparison. If you care to know, when this incident happened, the vice-chancellor, that vice-chancellor you're talking about, himself had to step down and all that, and people were saying that, but how come your son, it's a son that did it? But he himself had to be sacrificed and all that. So that is not the issue. My issue is that the integrity of the Electoral Commission as it stands now is compromised, and a way to go will be that they will do all of us a lot of good. Maybe in an attempt to defend herself, Charlotte Osei also ended up saying so many things that shouldn't have been said in the public domain. The two commissioners have also rebutted and also said what they have to say. They have all misconducted themselves professionally, and they have demonstrated lack of professional maturity. And in so doing, this has brought the name and image of the Electoral Commission into disrepute.
Prof, again, sorry if I cut you there, but you mentioned resignation, and you also mentioned that you had touched on a number of issues regarding this very trending matter at the Electoral Commission. You're reported to have said that outright inquiry, and you prefer an alternative dispute resolution. Do you still stand by it, or you think that they should just walk away?
Well, by the time I said that, I had not heard all these things that Mrs. Osei had also said. But after hearing and looking at the allegations and counter-allegations, I think they would help all of us. The matter has been politicized in order for it not to look like a particular regime didn't like somebody there, and so they kicked her out and all that. I think they will do a lot of good. I mean, they should resign. I know it takes professional maturity to take that decision, but I mean, they should resign, because, and resignation here, in my view, shouldn't also end the matter. They should resign, and also, clearly, the petition and response also show that some financial malfeasance may have been committed. And after resignation, I think the due processes of the law must also be kicked into start, so that those who are found to have also misconducted themselves and engaged in financial malfeasance are also brought to book.
Thank you so much, Professor Ransford Jampo. He is a director for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. We're looking at matters arising at the Electoral Commission. You're still watching Midday Live. The Customs, Excise and Preventive Service Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority has interdicted 87 more officers for various offences. The Commissioner General at the Customs Division, Isaac Crenshaw, described the exercise as an act of rebranding the Customs Division to deliver. Here's a report by Frederick Clarence Williams.
Over 200 customs officers have so far been interdicted. Query letters have been sent to some officers to answer for their alleged failure to do due diligence on transactions they supervised, which are said to have cost the state millions of cedis. According to Commissioner General of Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Isaac Quentel, all the work done by the officers since 2012 have been pulled out from the system and are being thoroughly scrutinized on suspicion of wrongdoing.
Putting a culture of accountability. In the professional work, there are standards that you have to meet. You have the laws, you have the regulations, you have so many things that as a customs officer you have to follow. And we're hoping that with these things that has happened, it will be a big lesson for any customs officer to know that, look, you have to obey the law, which guide us in our work.
He described the exercise as an act of rebranding the Customs Division.
To us, it's a rebranding. It's going to help us to come out with a new image. This country is moving to a national trade facilitation, where we expect the customs officer to play a major role. And that major role is, as an officer, it will ensure that we don't put stamping blocks in the effort of the trader. And I'm sure at the end of the day, Ghanaians will see a new customs officer.
He disclosed the service has deployed more officers at the various stations to help other officers to augment work at the Tema ports.
We are bringing in additional staff from our other areas, less busy areas, to Tema, which collect about 70% of the national revenue, to augment that situation, and therefore we are hoping that it will not affect our normal operational work.
We head straight to the Ashanti region, where a metal bridge used by school children at Eija and Woweso in Kumasi has turned into a death trap. Our Ashanti regional correspondent Ibrahim Abubakar has details on the story.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, sir.
This state has been here for some time. Have you made any effort to draw the attention of the authorities?
Yes, we have made an effort. Firstly, we went to the Vice Chancellor. He was here. Then the KMA boss, former KMA boss, also was here to look at it, and all is unavailable.
Now the bridge is in this state, your students are using it. What effort have you made as a school to also ensure that you attend to the bridge?
Yeah, sometimes we buy some balls and put on it so that the children can walk on it. But normally, there's a thief who normally comes here also to pick the balls away. So always when we buy it, they come and pick it, and then, so this has been the problem.
We've also seen that the Woweso River is closer to the bridge. Does it in anyhow overflow whenever it rains?
Yeah, it overflow.
And how does it affect students or academic work in school?
Yeah, when it overflows, students do not come to school because most of them from Eija linking to this place were not able to come. Some of them also pass by the roadside, and which is very dangerous.
Thank you very much. I also have with me a parent, a concerned parent here. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
You have your ward here in Woweso MA Primary and JSS. How concerned are you?
Really, it's dangerous. And last time, me myself, I was passing, but that was last Tuesday. I was invited to see my children, and when I passed on, I, even as an adult, I'm afraid to walk on it. I'm afraid, because sometimes when you get to the middle part, the way it will be shaking you, and sometimes, one day my daughter told me that when it rains, the flood overtake the whole bridge, and you can't see where they put even the plant to pass on. And they have been entering and getting hurt. So it's very dangerous.
Well, thank you very much. But then, as you can see, the current state of the bridge needs urgent attention from the authorities. This bridge, when it collapses, it's not only going to cut off linking communities, it's also going to affect students' academic work or school academic work, because most of the time when it rains, the students even do not have access to the bridge to the main school, because this is their main alternative route from Eija or Kentin Krono to their main school.
Thank you, Ibrahim Abubakar. We'll bring you some more of that story in our subsequent bulletins. Let's move on, but we're still focusing on education. The first rector of Gimpa, Professor Stephen Adai, is challenging government's claim that poor university curricula is responsible for graduate unemployment. He's asking government to rather focus on growing the economy to create jobs.
High Unemployment figures have triggered the argument that most of the programs run at universities are irrelevant. The president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, recently at the 50th anniversary of the Association of African Universities, blamed the curricula of tertiary institutions for graduate unemployment in the country.
It is not pleasant, but sadly, we have to accept that 50 years down the line, we have not made much progress in the trajectory of higher education from what existed in the pre- and immediate post-colonial era in Africa. The links between African universities and the productive sectors of our economies, including small and medium-scale enterprises, remain very weak. We're not doing very well in research, and we're not doing at all well in science and engineering. And it is not surprising that we're therefore not meeting the demands of the labor market.
Professor Stephen Ade, however, disagrees. He advocates the growing of the Ghanaian economy to cater for the hundreds of graduates who pass out annually.
First of all, we must tackle the economic fundamentals, which is not generating enough growth, and the growth is not employment generating growth, especially agriculture and industry. Agriculture is shedding labor, it's not generating jobs.
He, however, charged universities to introduce soft skills courses to help equip students before they graduate from the universities.
Nobody out there is going to employ you for your history. They are now employing you for your critical thinking. They are employing you for your ICT competence, your teamwork, your ability to think out of the box, and the rest. Most of our universities are not giving them these soft skills that makes them employable.
And yesterday, TV3 brought to you a story about hundreds of university graduates who were left with no choice but to push and shove their way through this year's National Service Placements registration exercise. TV3 Solis Rose Quarte returned to the National Service Secretariat and brings us an update on day 2 of the registration exercise.
This is what day 1 of the National Service Placements registration for the 2016-2017 year looked like. And this is what day 2 looked like. The mood at the regional office of the Secretariat was that of calm. Security personnel were still at post, but had not as much to do as they did the previous day. Metal barricades had been arranged in a way that made it easier for registrants to form proper queues. The queue for those going into the private sector, however, moved quicker than that of those for the public sector. Relief was obvious on the faces of many.
I'm very relieved. It wasn't easy. It hasn't been easy since yesterday. I came here around, I think, before 6 a.m. and standing here for the whole day to only get to somewhere to the bar, and then they tell me that they have closed around 3. It wasn't easy.
Were you here yesterday?
No, I wasn't here yesterday, but I heard about the things that happened yesterday. So it was because of the things my friends told me. That's why I didn't come at all, because the place was very chaotic and I didn't want to go through any stress and then get hurt or anything. So I didn't come here at all.
Yes, I had a problem with the whole setup and all. They were not really prepared for us. So there was not much planning, yes. But today when I came even in the morning around the same time as yesterday I did, I saw it was better.
Now to health, and there is a general shortage of polio vaccines in the country, which is causing fear, particularly among nursing mothers. The shortage is as a result of Ghana's failure to pay debts owed the United Nations Children's Fund. UNICEF is an international body that procures the vaccines across the globe, though the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Anthony Siasari, says close to $10 million has been paid to UNICEF for procurement. The vaccines are yet to get to the hospitals. The WHO described deaths which can be prevented with vaccination as an unacceptable tragedy. Polio is a highly infectious disease caused by a virus and mainly affects children under 5 years of age. According to the WHO, failure to eradicate polio could result in as many as 200,000 new cases every year within 10 years still over the world. Ghana has recorded an outbreak in 2008, but could the situation the country finds itself in be put on the county as risk? We're now going on the phone line, still on this issue, to speak to Robert Kujo. He is the Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Health. Thanks for your time, Robert.
Thank you, madam.
Now, last week, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service told the media that $10 million owed UNICEF had been paid and that the polio vaccine supply will be available this week. What's the situation now?
Yeah, you are right. All that he said was true. We had a little bit of shortage. Not that it was shortage, but the supply went down a little bit. So we spoke with the company that supplies the vaccines, but we had to commit some counterpart costs, which was not forthcoming, so kind of delayed the supply. But thank God the minister has committed and that some amount of money has been released. So hopefully by a week's time or even before a week, we should expect some supply which will last for about a year. So I think it's a situation which is under control.
Okay, Robert, you said by a week or before a week. Can you be a bit specific or specifically tell us when that will happen?
Oh, if I say a week or even before a week, I think it's a timeline. So
I'm asking because mothers are concerned. They need some concrete answers on when exactly their children will be vaccinated.
Well, on the ground, we have sent supplies to all the regional directorates. They have also sent them to the various states in the peripheral. So at the ground where these vaccines are most needed, we have them. Only that the stock has gone down, and because we expect more within a week, I think it's a situation is under control. I don't think it's going to be out of hand. A week or even before, this new supply should be arriving.
What is the annual demand for polio vaccines countrywide?
Well, it's a lot. It depends and it's changing, so I can't be specific, but it's quite a number. Like I said, we have sent supplies to various regions, and at the ground where they are most needed, we have the vaccines. Only that at the warehouse it's a bit down. So as we said, within a week, or even before a week, we should have new supplies. So it's a situation that's under control. I don't think we should be panicking at this point.
Well, thank you so much, Robert Kujo, for your time. He's the Public Relations Officer at the Ministry of Health. Two other stories, and fishermen of both Upper and Lower Discover in their Hunter West district of the Western region are contemplating relocating to Ivory Coast over lack of access to premix fuel. The fishermen say they are disappointed in the government for letting them down.
The fisher folks say there has been erratic supply of the petroleum product since January this year, compelling them to depend on supply from other sources at exorbitant prices. July and August are major seasons in the area, but there was no supply of premix for the past 4 weeks. This forced most of the fisher folks to relocate to neighboring Ivory Coast in order to maximize their gains. Others are now considering joining their colleagues in Ivory Coast if an intended march to the district assembly and regional secretariat fails to yield the desired result. The fishermen expressed their disappointment in government for letting them down.
When I head to the presidency, and Martini's President Marie-Louise Colliero-Preca is expected in Ghana tonight for a 3-day state visit. The president, who is the first Malta leader to visit Ghana, will lead a sizable trade delegation to explore trade opportunities in the country, with Ghana fast becoming a regional hub for opportunities in the West African markets. President Prekav's visit is seen as an opportunity to strengthen ties and open up trade and cultural engagements, with Ghana providing access to the rest of Africa, a population of 1.2 billion, through a continental free trade agreement. Her visit also serves as a platform to work with Ghana as a gateway to West Africa. It is being recognized as an important opportunity by the business communities in both countries. ECOWAS countries are set to finalize 30 draft standards proposed by ECOWAS Technical Harmonization Committee to ensure the reduction of non-tariff barriers proposed by testing and certification of products and administration of standards. Acting Executive Director of the Ghana Standards Board, Professor Alex Dodu, is optimistic the harmonization will cut complaisance cost and simplify the process of meeting requirements.
ECOWAS countries are seeking to establish a framework for the development and operation of suitable or appropriate, relevant and efficient, as well as effective quality infrastructures to facilitate inter-regional and international trade. In 2013, a technical committee was set up to begin the process leading to the harmonization of 20 standards. 30 more standards are expected to be agreed on.
What we are working towards is that such regulation will be based on existing standards. It will facilitate the maintenance of technical relations. So if the standards are maintained, they are reviewed in ECOWAS, we said it should be every 5 years when it comes to regional standards.
Acting Executive Director of the Ghana Standard Authority, Professor Alex Dodu, is optimistic the harmonization will cut compliance cost and simplify the process of meeting requirements.
In a lot of technical work, what the aim should be is that the consumer should feel it. We should be able to buy products from across the sub-region without saying that, wait a minute, where is this from? It's a long way, but I think we've made a lot of progress. What we need to do is to add a drive which would ensure that consumers will benefit.
He appealed to the sub-region to ensure trade barriers becomes extinct.
Agric employs the majority of our people. So if we can harmonize standards, export from West Africa will be trusted. Because if Ghana is good and Nigeria is not good, trust me, nobody is going to trust West Africa. To the outside world, it's West Africa, not one country. So we have to be united in that and move forward.
Chief Director at the Ministry of Trade and Industry lauded ECOWAS for the initiative, adding free market economies provide opportunities for expanding trade. Member states have converged in Accra to agree and finalize the 30 draft standard proposed by the Technical Harmonization Committee in Accra.
Now, information reaching us is that the gynecology unit of the Tamale Teaching Hospital is flooded, and nurses there are currently doing their best to help avoid destruction. And the nurses at the gynecology unit of the Tamale Teaching Hospital are working and doing their best after a 2-hour downpour. And mostly affected is the gynecology theatre and the gyne B block. So we'll bring you some more information on this very story in our subsequent bulletins. You're still watching Midday Live. Next, we have business with Pakwesi Asare.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the very latest in the world of business. My name is Pakwesi Asare. So we begin with news that was making headlines all throughout yesterday, and that has to do with the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank. After meeting for almost 3 days to review the health of the economy, a new policy rate was announced, and as you may be aware already, the policy rate was reduced by 150 basis points to 21%. Now, just to give you a bit of background as to how we arrived at this 21% monetary policy rate, as you may be aware, all throughout last year, 2016, the monetary policy rate had been going up consistently up until somewhere December when it started going down. Now, this year, on January 23, 2017, the governor of the central bank announced a reduction in the policy rate from 25.50% to 23%. That's 100 basis points. And then also, it was again in March 27, it went down again to 23.5%. In July, on May 22nd, 2017, it again went down to 22.5%. And the very latest we're having now is the 21%. That's 150 basis point reduction. Now, as you may be aware, the Monetary Policy Committee announces a policy rate. The policy rate is often indicative of the rate at which commercial banks borrow from the central bank. It also influences the rate at which you are servicing your loan at the bank. And so often when you have the policy rate, you want to know how that will impact on interest rates. Let's give you a bit of idea as to what interest rates have looked like. Interest rate, these are trends of interest rates from January 2017. We saw interest rates on average hovering around 38.3%. In March 2017, still around 38.3%. May 2017, 38.3%. And July, as of July, we're having interest rates fall a bit to around 33%. And many people are still complaining about this rate. They think that on the sub-region, our interest rates are relatively higher. So we've had reactions to this latest announcement. The head of Department for Finance at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Godfred Bokpin, says the reduction of the monetary policy rate by 150 basis points to 21% will not cause a base drift effect on the market. He is of the opinion the transmission mechanism needs to be strengthened to make the market sensitive to the reduction in the policy rate.
Professor Bokpin says the lack of fiscal discipline in the past led to the high monetary policy rate in the country as compared to an average of 10% in neighboring countries. He also indicates the gradual and marginal reductions in the policy rate in the last 6 months was expected.
If we are talking about enabling environment, then we are looking at interest rate that is lower than 10%. But even though we've seen the policy rate come down, we haven't seen the lending rate coming down. That we are not there yet because 21% is still very high.
Government's development plans are hinged on private sector growth, which is aimed at total growth of the economy. Hence, reducing the policy rate is the way to go. A lower policy rate should lead a lower cost of borrowing and subsequently reduce inflation. The head of Department and Finance at the University of Ghana Business School is of the view the central bank has to strengthen the transmission mechanism in order for the policy rate to reflect on the market.
It's not significant enough to cause a base drift in the markets necessarily. General economic instability also affects the asset quality of banks. But the point is that as government works hard to stabilize the economy and improve on the macroeconomic stability, build on that to transform the economy, we also expect that this will translate to improving the asset quality of banks and also enable businesses, individuals, customers to be able to pay back their loan and then the interest.
Professor Bokpin has advised the central bank to have a look at the base rate formula in order to have a comprehensive approach to dealing with monetary policy indicators.
The central bank has approved currently for banks in terms of determining their base rates. We need to interrogate the formula and make it much more responsive to the monetary policy rate, either a weighted rate in terms of the policy rate, treasury rate, and then other variables in the market probably will be. But the current formula itself does not aid significantly the transmission mechanism of the policy rate.
With inflation down to 12.1%, inflation expectations lowering, the inflation target band of 6 to 9% is achievable, and there's more room for policy rate to come down.
Well, lots of analysis, lots of views being expressed by the latest about the latest reduction in the policy rate. Meanwhile, lecturer at the Economics Department of the University of Ghana, Edu Owusu-Sarkodie, says though the policy rate reduction to 21% is welcome news, it will be prudent if the central bank reduces it further to 12%, which will ensure the lowering of the cost of credit to businesses. He made the observation on TV3's flagship business and economic analysis program, Business Focus.
If Japan is doing 0.9% and other countries are doing a little over 10%, our neighbors Kenya and Nigeria are doing better than us, I think that we should sit down as a country and see our 38% is very high. It's very, very high, meaning that if you go to borrow 100 cedis today, in a year's time, you're going to pay 38 cedis more. And I think that whatever the problem is, we must fill in the gap and solve the problem.
On the public debt, he said government must focus on looking at various ways on raising revenue in order to bring down its debt stock.
I'm very much disappointed in the two parties, the MPP and the NDC, fighting over who is borrowing more and who is borrowing less. Instead of thinking about how to raise tax revenue, our GDP estimate for this year is 200 billion cedis. If we're able to collect 25%, if our revenue to GDP ratio is 25%, you're talking about 50 billion Ghana cedis. We should be thinking of how to raise the revenue to GDP
we're
ratio
doing about
from
what, 17, 16?
Yes, they're about to 25.
Fellow panelist Benjamin Ajay Amwa with the First Bank Financial Services said the drop cannot be entirely attributed to the managers of the economy, but due to economic indicators which started declining for the previous year.
I think it's based on economic indicators, and some of those indicators have shown a decline even before the election was held and was won in December 2016. We can name inflation, for instance, and the stability we've seen in the city. It's actually worse this year than it was last year. So really, we can't attribute all of it to the managers of the economy, but it is simply based on data that is being shown, that the Bank of Ghana has reported, and it's shown an improvement in the macroeconomic environment. That is what is driving the decline in the policy rate.
Well, that's all for the very latest in the world of business. Thanks for watching. My name is Pakwesi Asare. For more news, you can log on to our website, www.3news.com.
Thanks for staying. Let's look at some other stories. And constituency women organizers of the ruling MPP in the Northern, Upper East and West regions have appealed to the president to speed up the appointment of new regional and national coordinators for the Ghana school feeding program. They argue that this will prevent the program from collapsing in the regions.
Addressing a press conference in Tamale, the NPP women organizers accused Madam Otiko Afise-Jaba of appointing coordinators for the program without consulting the party executives. They also accused her of selling various jobs in the school feeding program to some members of the general public.
To one Madam Ajasafia, who is claiming to be a staff from the Ministry of Gender, our checks revealed that Ajasafia is not an official from either the Ministry of Gender or the Ghana School Feeding Program. The activities of these two women are illegal and criminal. We hereby encourage the public to report any one of them who calls them for any issues concerning school feeding programs to the nearest party regional and constituency offices for further action.
They expressed worry with the decision of the Gender and Social Protection Minister to advertise vacancies, though the president is yet to appoint a management team for the program.
She is nursing the grounds to deny many of our women an opportunity to serve under the program. Our checks from all the regions indicate that none of the regional women organizers or regional chairmen was consulted before putting out that advert on the newspapers by Otiko.
They appealed to the president to intervene.
The president too, as a matter of urgency, set up a team for the management of the Ghana school feeding program at all levels to help rescue the program from collapsing under the current management.
All right, so we're working on getting some updates and a reaction from the ministry. So, meaning those updates as and when we get them. But it's time for sports. And Yao Fosilabi, who likes to be called Kawawa, is standing by. What do you have for us this afternoon?
Good afternoon, Wendy. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Up next is sports. Hi, good afternoon. It's time to do sports here on Midday Live. My name is Yao Fosulabi. And on to our first story now. The Ghana League Clubs Association, GALCA, has instituted a month break in the Premier League. The decision is expected to take effect after this weekend's MTN FA Cup matches. We spoke to the body's communications director, Tamimu Issa. The Ghana Premier League could go on recess for 1 month after the Ghana League Clubs Association announced there would not be a schedule of league matches after the MTN FA Cup matches this weekend due to the upcoming WAFU Championship, the CHAN qualifiers, and to give Kumasi Asante Kotoko a bit of time to ease into the playing schedule after their recent accident. The local Black Stars have begun heading to camp in Pram Pram ahead of the preparations for the qualifying games, which will begin in next to no time. Communications Director for GALCA, Tamimu Issa, explains the modalities.
There is also a proposal from the technical team of the CHAN Black Stars B team that they will need about a week preparation ahead of the qualifier, first league qualifier with Burkina Faso. And this is a squad that is made up of entirely local players, and to continue with the league whilst they are in camp will be a bit problematic. So we're looking at 3 weeks to 4 weeks. That's a month. That's the proposal. So the board will meet and look at the merits and discuss it thoroughly and come out with a firm decision.
Issa believes the recess is in line with GALCA's plans to help Kumasi Asante Kotoko to return to full fitness, and says it will benefit teams in an already congested league fixture.
One advantage for us is that we are getting towards the climax of the league, where winners of the league will be decided and where teams will be relegated. So at that point, the excitement is always there. So we are hoping that should the board decide that, or should the board accept the proposal that the league should be on break for a month, by then we will have the advantage of the climax towards the league to get the fans back in the stadium.
To some more stories, and 28 players have been invited to the Black Stars B camp as they continue preparations for their CHAN qualifying match against Burkina Faso and the upcoming WAFU tournament. The invited players reported to the team's training camp at the Ghanaman Soccer Center of Excellence in Pram Pram on Monday. The home-based senior national team will take on Burkina Faso on the 11th of August in Ouagadougou before the return game, which will be played in Accra on August 18. Among the players called up are Kotoko's Felix Annan, Awal Mohammed, Sadiq Adams, Amos Frimpong, and Emmanuel Jemfi.
And in entertainment this afternoon, veteran actor Beku Sego has advised young people in the movie industry to invest their earnings wisely rather than waste it on expensive red carpet wear. He has been sharing his thoughts with our reporter, Ajamufose.
Red carpet wear has become a major concern,